Welcome, welcome, welcome. It must be Tuesday, and you're in the right place at the right time. We've got a wonderful show lined up for you today. I'm so excited about my guest today. Man, a legend in the business. This lady has been around the world doing what she's doing, and she's on my show today to tell y'all her story. And I'm so excited about having her on the show. So we're going to hurry up and get through the opening so we can get her on live with us. So without further ado, I want to give a couple of shout outs. The first one I like to do is give a shout out to all of our healthcare heroes that are on the front line that are keeping our loved ones alive. Now, I say this every time because I mean it. You know, there are people that have been out there over the last 2 years dealing with diseases and things of that nature that they had no way of knowing how it was going to evolve, but they have healed our families and sent them back to us. And I'm so excited that they are on the front line doing their job the way they have been doing it. Also, just FYI, I know the holiday is coming up. Please be careful. Please wear your mask. Please be safe because we need you guys to survive through this holiday season. Don't take it for granted. Oh, I got the vaccination. Wear your mask. Because people with the vaccinations are still getting sick and winding up in the hospital. So please be careful and be wise during this holiday season. The second thing I like to do is give a shout out to all of our spiritual leaders, all of the pastors that are on the front line that had to deal with some of the turmoil and heartache that was going on. So we like to shout them out each and every show as well. If you have a pastor or a spiritual leader, be sure and pray for them. Keep them lifted up in prayer because they need to be encouraged during this time as well. So, and a special shout out to my mentor and spiritual leader, Dr. Lord Michael Hunt. He's been with me for over 30 years, and I tell you, it has been an adventure, and I enjoyed each and every minute of it. All right, so let's shoot over here. I want to invite each and every person to go over to my website, ask-dr-ron.com. When you get over there, please search out all of my advertisers. We have a few listed here: RJ Webb, Prince Hunter Financial Group, and Port Again Sam. If you click on any one of the banners that you see on my website, they will take you directly to their website, and you can find out all the things that they do. Also have some interesting vendors. Support them. They make it possible for us to do what we do here, and we thank them, and we need you to support them. If you scroll all the way up to the top, you'll also see all of my social media tabs, my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also my YouTube. Please go over to the YouTube. We need you to click on the playlist, see all of the shows that we have posted there. You can also subscribe, hit the notification bell. So every time we make a post or every time we go live, you'll be able to see it and you will not miss a show. So, now, without further ado, I want to get into this show that we have today. Many of you have heard of her. She has been around the industry a very long time. Miss Sherri Culpepper. And I tell you, she's been behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. She's a legend in the business. I had the honor and the privilege of being on a show with her a couple of weeks back with the Street News Now and the Six Guys and You show. She came on and she told us her story, and I was so touched by it. I was like, "Look, I got to have you on my show. We got to get you over here, and we got to sound the alarm. We got to start letting people know what's going on." Because we, as kings, and I'm talking about the brothers now that's on the Street News now. As kings, we have to rally around our queens. And Miss Sherri Culpepper is definitely one of our precious jewels. And I want to welcome her to the show for the very first time. Hello, Miss Sherri. How you doing?
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you for that introduction. I appreciate you. Thank you for reaching out, supporting me. It's a pleasure to be here tonight.
Well,
It's
I'm
always
glad to
good to
have
have
you.
a king by your side. Got your
Yes.
back, your front. It
Yes, yes,
helps.
yes.
Helps.
With the things that are going on, we have to support you. We have to, by any means necessary, as Malcolm X used to say, we got to
Mhm.
make sure that we don't let these folks, government or anybody else, take you off your square and take you out of the game, without somebody, say, hey, hold on, that's my girl. You can't mess with her like that you know so I know many people, because you've been off the scene for a while. You want
Right.
to tell the people some of the things that you used to be involved in and what you used to do back in the day. We're going to use it like that.
Back, ooh, back in my other life, as I always say. Before we start, I just want to send out love and good vibrations to Malcolm X family. His daughter made her transition today. There are not a lot of details, but
Mm-hmm.
I know some of the other remaining sisters, and so they have my love. That's never an easy thing to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Amen.
love and blessings to them. But I am a fourth generation Harlemite. Let me start there.
Okay.
And everything about me is rooted in that. And with that came a love of music, hanging out the second floor window of my great aunt's walk up apartment, and being able to see the line for James Brown wrapped around the corner, 4 or 5 people deep. And I remember asking my mom, like, what's going on? She's like, oh, that James Brown is at the Apollo. I was like, okay, people must like him, you know. But I
Uh-huh.
couldn't have been more than 5.
Okay.
And my love of music just started then. I grew up with a lot of entertainers around the family, listening to all kind of music. And my first radio station was my best friend. That was WWRL. AM station. Back in the days when you didn't care whether the signal was crystal clear or not, the music was so good, and the air personalities, or disc jockeys, as we called it before Frankie Crocker came up with the air personality, the marketing term. Uh, Hank Spann, Bob Law, Imhotep, Gary Bird. I think he was just Gary Bird back in the day. Eddie OJ, who I knew, he actually lived in the building where I grew up. His daughter and I were friends growing up, and I fell in love with music. I fell in love with radio, and I did not realize, I'll be honest, until I went away to college, that you could have a very good career. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Water break.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. I didn't realize you could have a career in radio. Excuse me. I just got out the cold for about 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So
Take your time.
so
Look, we go all the way up to 6 o'clock. Okay.
okay.
So you
Let's see
good.
if my voice holds up.
Uh-huh.
So I grew up. Uh, I I started playing the violin when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
I played classical violin. It wasn't very classical in the beginning. My cousins and my sister all played the piano. And the story was, I really wanted to learn the guitar, but
Okay.
I'm 6 years old. I didn't know the difference between the guitar and the violin. So I said violin, but I'm thinking guitar. My mom was so excited because she said, oh, now you can play and your sister can accompany you on the piano. She opened this violin, and I'm expecting a guitar. So it was close. And I was like, no, I want the one that you do like this. He's like, this is your violin and you're going to play it.
Mm.
So with that, for 18 years, I studied the violin, ended up going to the High School of Music and Art, uh,
Okay.
got in on a music scholarship or a music program, and went to school with some amazing people in high school. Uh, let's see if I can remember some names. So there's Don Lewis, and way before my time, Billy D. Williams. But
Okay.
I did have an occasion to speak to him and let him know that we were alumni. He went there for art, for drawing, actually.
Okay.
Um, yeah, went into acting later. But who else? Omar Hakim, who played the drums. Marcus, oh, Marcus Miller, who was the um, a writer, prolific writer, and arranger for a lot of um, Luther Vandross's music. So
Okay.
I was always around music, and I was destined to have a career in music, and that's all that I wanted to do. And I went to Northeastern University in Boston, Massachusetts, and we had an amazing radio station. My initial major was sociology, but after my first quarter, I realized that you had to have a master's in $1,000, and that was back in 1977. And I quickly said, nope, I'm changing my major to business marketing.
Okay.
Good. So it's the same radio station where Wendy Williams got her start,
Okay.
Jay Dixon, who's in the business. Quite a few people started at that station and moved on and went into commercial stations. And I actually went to the BRE my senior year. And that is where I met Barry Mayo, who ended up being my first program director.
Okay.
And the story was, you give someone your business card and you say, give me a call. And, sometimes people don't follow up. Well, I pursued Barry. It's like, gotta have something, I just kept calling and pestering him. And he'll tell the story. And finally, uh, he says, I'm really busy. My wife's having a baby. And this was his first child. He's like, my wife's having a baby. So I called for 10 months. And finally, he said, you know what? There's something coming up. I can't really tell you the details, but it'll be a foot in the door. As it turns out, he was taking Kenny Webb from WBLS and making him the first morning personality at Kiss FM.
Okay.
And as it turns out, the equipment in our college radio station was the exact same equipment at Kiss FM. So
Okay.
I walked in the first day and I was at home and I was splicing. Back then we spliced tape with a razor blade, and
Yeah.
you could cue
Yeah.
it up and you
Those
could tape.
those little thin tapes on reel to
That's
reels.
right.
Yeah, I remember
That's
those.
right.
Yeah. And
And you
a
time it
lot.
out. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. A
it
lot
was
of times we
beautiful.
used to use Scotch tape to tape them back together. Yep.
That's
Yep.
right. They had this. Well, yeah. If you didn't have the splicing tape, see, we were, what's the word? We were spoiled. We had the
Right.
splicing
Right. Right.
tape,
Right. Right.
and I
Right.
would, splice. We'd record the call, and during the break, the commercial break, I would edit it down and take all the pauses out, and it's like, Kenny, coming up on the next break, go to the caller, 13 minutes. Here's your intro. I timed it out so he hit the post. I was I was in my glory. And I
Yes.
realized, now mind you, Barry hired me to answer the phone for requests and get Kenny Webb's coffee,
Mm.
and that was it. It was a way. Typically, that position was not paid, and it was designed for people to just get their foot in the door, and everybody wanted to be on the air, but I didn't want to be on the air. Now, what I didn't say is, growing up, I stuttered so badly
Mm.
that I could hardly get a sentence out. And so being on the air, even though I finally stopped after my fourth grade teacher put me in some play productions in elementary school, PS 129, John F. Finley, uh, Cool Mo D went there, and a young man named Irving Rames, later called Ving Rames, was a classmate
Mm.
of mine.
Okay.
And we had the most amazing teacher. And I can't, I kind of skip over elementary school, but I tell you, back then we had an amazing a music teacher, Mrs. Johnson, whose whose niece was one of the fifth dimension.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
oh no, wait, you know what? Mrs. Johnson's a music teacher, Miss McDougal. And how do I remember these names? You know, I'm 60, almost 62. But Miss McDougal's niece was one of the fifth dimensions. And I just saw her in the interview, the one that did the lead singer. Help me out. She's married to Bill.
Marilyn McCool.
Marilyn McCoo. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Don't
her. She
don't
looks,
don't don't ask me how I know that.
I know how you know it. But so anyway, so again, it was just like my life just had this trajectory. Now, when I was 5 years old, wasn't always um, wasn't always sweet and nice. My biological mother was killed when I was
Mm.
5. Yeah,
Mm. Yeah.
and I have to share a quick part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
She had a gift of sorts,
Mm-hmm.
and she had I don't know whether it was a premonition or whether she overheard something, but she ended up going to Washington, D.C. to try to warn the then president that he was going to be killed.
Mm.
And on November 22nd, he was.
Mm.
And I was home with her when Walter Cronkite came on the air and announced that the then president had been assassinated.
Mm.
And my mother, my biological mother, she cried. And as a child, I thought maybe this was a friend of hers. And I remember her just uncontrollably crying. And for yesterday to be the anniversary of that, it always resonates with me. So
Mm-hmm.
my family had to shift very quickly. So my great aunt became my mother, my great grandmother became my grandmother, and the family just,
The
did what they
dynamic.
had to do,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
tried to normalize, my siblings and myself, try to normalize our life. And I think that perhaps that's why, I had a lot of love from family growing up,
Yeah.
and
And
which
it's
is
fun.
why
And it's
when I was at what's that?
no, I was gonna say it's funny you should say that because during that era, children did not get raised outside of the family. Like in your situation, other family members stepped up and took over the responsibility of making
Yeah,
sure of your existence and your survival. That
that's so
was
true.
a norm back then because in many families there were all types of situations and circumstances that took place, but yet family
Mhm. So
stepped
true.
in and make sure that the youngest members of the family were not sent off to foster homes or someplace, to work farms in Mississippi somewhere. Somebody in the
Real
family
talk.
said,
Mm-hmm.
"Look, I'll take the young girl, I'll take the young boy and bring them in and then raise them with the rest of their children." So I didn't want you to go past that real fast because
No,
that
that's a very good point.
yeah, that was something that we had in our community, because a lot of times the black community gets a black eye. They
Mm-hmm.
don't realize that, hey, we've always stepped up when it comes to our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Now we ain't always been good. You might get sent to the uncle that like to beat your ass every Sunday at 3 o'clock, you know.
What?
but but because he was tired, you was in his face trying to play. Go get your ass somewhere.
I
it
grew
was
up there
family.
because I said so,
Yeah, right, right. Let me do this right quick. Karen
Yeah.
Abbott Trimble's on the line, and she said I was a huge fan. And then when you were talking about what happened to your mom and her premonition, she said, "Wow." So I like to read the comments as they pop up.
Okay.
So I
All
just
right.
wanted to say that. So I'm sorry to mean to interrupt you, take you out of your
No,
flow.
and we're going. This is like a roller coaster, so
Right.
put your seatbelt on.
Yes, yes, yes.
But no, you bring up a good point, and this is important. Uh, I considered recently becoming a foster parent.
Okay.
I went through the interview process, but then I realized it was probably going to be too much for me. Um, and there might be some philosophical differences with how
Mm-hmm.
I would choose to raise a child versus what the system would dictate. I've
Yes.
been a vegan for 41 years,
Mm-hmm.
um, or vegetarian for 41 years. And, vegan, I do day by day. I always tell people I haven't eaten red meat in 41 years. I haven't eaten chicken in, I don't know, maybe about 10 years. Um, and I don't think that I would serve a child that is under my roof that. And if they dictate that, I may have to do something different. So I had to rethink it. But there was a situation last week on 125th Street. My daughter called me and she said, "Oh, I'm near your job site, and I'm at the CVS." And I heard this commotion, and I said, "What's
Mm-hmm.
going on?" She said, "Oh, this little kid is just acting out, and the police are here." So as she is telling me this, I'm heading towards the CVS. As it turns out, little Ebenezer, 9 years old, had a meltdown.
Mm.
He had been with his foster mother for 3 days,
Mm.
and he wilded out.
Mm.
I don't even know what damage he did, but I heard he just ripped the back of this CVS up.
Mm.
When I came in, I just quickly, that's the martial arts background in me. Perhaps I'm also a first degree black belt. I assessed the situation. I'm like, okay, where's his parent? And then I heard somebody say he's a foster child. Then someone else who was not with him, but somehow in the foster system, she said, she explained to me real quick that, the foster parent is done with him. And the procedure is now they must call EMS and take him to the hospital. And
Mm.
he's on meds. So all of this was just downloaded in about 4 minutes.
Mm.
So I walked over to him. He had his fist balled up. A black cop was what, and I have to say, the African American man had leaned down to him and told him, "I will take my belt off and smack your butt." Okay, talk about old school.
Right.
But let me tell you, sometimes you just gotta shake a child up.
Right.
That timeout
Right.
stuff that has its place. But he needed to hear that at that
Right.
moment,
Right.
and
Calm
he
down.
kind of it
Yeah.
diffused the situation. And then
Right.
I came over, and once I saw him calming down and he wasn't throwing fists, because he was holding his own for 9 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
And I said, "What's his name?" None of the adults there had ever asked the child his name.
Wow.
When he told me his name, I said, "Do you know that's a name from the Bible? Do you know the story?" I just began to engage him. As it turns out, little Ebenezer was upset because obviously, foster child, you don't know what history he's had over the last 9 years.
Right.
But he pointed to his foster brother and said, "He has a toy and he won't share." So
Uh.
he came into CVS and grabbed a toy and wasn't letting it go.
Wow.
And so I began to talk to him. First thing, I kneeled down on my knee and I said, "What if this store belonged to you and someone just came in and took what they wanted off the shelf?" And I'm going to tell you, his little face, he was looking down the whole time. It was some things I talked to him about, or I was questioning him just to see if he would engage me.
Right.
And once I saw he was, speaking to me, and he looked up at me when I said that, actually, he just stared like he thought about it. Like, yeah, what if this was my store? I wouldn't
Right.
want anybody to come in and just take something and walk away. And then
Right.
I told him, try to make him laugh. I said, you see how I'm dressed? I said, I don't dressing like a man and looking like this, but guess what? If I want to buy something from the store, I have to work, and you've got to work for it.
Mm.
And I met some other people. As it turned out, they did have to take him. The foster parent was like, he can't come back home.
Right.
But this is a good opportunity. I mean, that's a really important point that you brought up, and I never really thought about it, because I easily, and my sister and my brother, we easily could have been put in foster care.
Exactly.
And the
Yeah.
fact that, without hesitation, my aunt went from being a single woman in the prime of her life to being a caregiver to two little girls. And it
Yes.
wasn't easy for her. It wasn't easy for us. Parenting were no one-on-one, books on how to parent. And
Right.
but she did the best she could, and I love her
And she did
dearly.
a great job. She did a great
Uh,
job.
Thank you. I had
I always say this, you can always tell a tree by the fruit that it bears.
a
So your aunt, she imparted into you what was necessary for your journey, and
yes.
you have, turned out to be a wonderful, you did her well. I'll just say it like that. You did her
She
well.
had she had some great help. I had
Yeah.
I
You had
had
a
an uncle that was
uh-huh.
a choreographer in vaudeville,
Okay.
and he had a quick story. Is one day the phone rang, and he was going through a routine. He's like, he's saying, go into this. He was a tap dancer, almost like the probably before the Nicholas brothers, the one that used to do the split. He was the short one on the top of the pyramid. And he goes through this whole thing. He hangs the phone up, and he turns and says, "Oh, that was Fred Astaire. He was
Mm.
working out. He was working out a routine."
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
and he
Yeah.
knew Honey Poles. That was a big tap dancer back in the day. But anyway, let me fast forward.
Yeah, before you go, let me read some of these comments. We got
Oh,
comments
okay.
coming in.
All right.
We got Apostle Earlene Miles. She's listening all the way over from I think she's in Georgia. We
Georgia.
got Tori listening. Shout out to Tori. Kenny Lyles is listening. Let's see. Karen says, "Blessing to you, Sherri, for taking time out to talk to that young child. He will
Yeah.
never forget your
Hmm.
words." See, so
Wow.
people that touch people. So now, I know you've had a foundation of that was, family orientated,
Yeah.
and it catapulted you into a industry, the radio industry, entertainment industry, because you're known from coast to coast,
Well, thank you.
and you
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 know
know
that.
yeah, you know it. She spent
Oh,
some time in Chicago, y'all. She
yeah.
hung out over here, and she worked with some of the legends in the business. And once again, being behind the scenes person, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people may not know that, you and Doug Banks, you started the one of your accolades and accomplishments. You started the morning show template.
Yes.
Okay, because when we were on Street News Now, you mentioned that, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm definitely going to emphasize that you were the very first person to establish the morning show template. Now, what that means, folks, is that she put how the flow of the show went. She was the one that put things together, and it worked successfully for so many people, and still working.
Yeah.
Okay, because if it
Yeah.
ain't broke, don't try to fix it. So when you did it, you should have had a patent on that, so you can keep
You
getting
know.
residuals.
You know. You just took the word out of my brain. And Barry and I have talked about this some decades later, but let me tell you what happened. So again, I had amazing college radio station at Northeastern, WBMX. I mean, excuse me, what was that? Oh, hmm, which one of the W's was it? Was it BMX? Nope, that was
He,
Chicago.
yeah,
Anyway,
BMX in Chicago. Yeah.
what was anyway the college radio station? It was a long time ago, but when I started at Kiss, Barry just wanted me to answer the phones. Like I said, he didn't, it wasn't a position. It wasn't no morning show producer. And when he realized that I had was cultivating it. And I didn't realize I was going to do it either. Who knew that the same equipment was going to be there? And Kenny was amazing. Kenny would he just let me go. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd come in with my show prep. I'd come to work 2 hours early and read a bunch of newspapers, say, here, Kenny, read this. And then I started realizing, hey, I can talk to the record companies and we can have New Edition on, or we can reach out to anybody. And
Mm-hmm.
I was back home, so I knew the city. I knew people to talk to, the politicians, everything. It was just divine order. And
Yes.
so patenting. What Kenny lived in? Can I say West Bubblefuck? Kenny lived out in Kenny lived out in Hicksville, Long Island, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
I came up with the idea. I've never gotten credit for this. I came up with the idea to give him a little leeway. I said, Kenny, you're going to record from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock every minute, and we're going to put them on this little cart. In fact, I think I have a cart. God bless Irving. Okay, these are what the cards look like, almost
Right,
like an
right. Little
eight-track, right?
cassettes, almost 8 tracks. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. Before
So I
cassettes,
told
there
him, I
were those
said,
tracks. Yeah.
and I put the label on. I put 6 o'clock, 6:01, 6:02. I had a whole section in the studio. And then I had him do some Kiss drops, good morning, Kiss FM. And it's 7:01, but I didn't say 7:01. I went to 7 o'clock. And Kenny would listen to himself coming into work.
Wow.
And the engineer and I would put the whole hour together. I timed out the commercials, I timed the intro of the songs. And lo and behold, one morning, Kenny oversleeps.
Uh-oh.
And yeah, so I had two options. This could have been my big break. But you got to remember, the little girl in my head was like, "Oh, I don't want to go on the air." So the engineer looked at me and said, "We have a live read. Either we're going to miss the live read, and then if I open the mic, Barry's going to have a fit, and the hotline's going to ring." Sure enough, I said, "You know what? Just go straight to commercials. I've got no more time stamps. I don't know what to do." As soon as that song hit, the hotline rang. Barry said, "Let me speak to Kenny." Kenny's not here. What do you mean Kenny's not here? Uh, then I said, his voice is on tape. And he hung the phone up. He said, "I want to see you all in my office when the show is over." He chewed us apart. But what he never told me until 1990 something, I think 93, 94, we were going to a Kiss party. um, Isaac Hayes was doing the morning show, and we gave him a ride somewhere. And Barry turns around in the car and says, Sherri started streaming. We didn't even have a name for it, but she was the first one to do it." And I'm like,
Oh man, that's
I'm not
beautiful.
a multi-millionaire now. How come you
That's
never told me
that's
and gave me a gig?
right. That was beautiful. Look, we got a couple of more
But yeah,
comments here. Jed said, love me some Sherri Culpepper. Greetings, Dr. Ron. Happy Turkey Week to everyone. Jed said, the innovator. Jed also said, oh, wow, that is awesome. School these kids on carts, cutting tapes, etc.
what's the
Okay.
chance I have one?
Yeah. So we got people interacting with us, and
Yes,
you
yes,
know, and those stories are invaluable. And one of the things that we were saying to you when you were on Street News Now is that you got to come out of retirement
I
because
do.
there's so many stories that you can tell, that
Yeah.
would be a blessing, to so many people, and this was one of the nudges that we're trying to get
Thank
your
you.
blood flowing back into that area, so you can come
Yeah.
and innovate some new stuff. We
Yeah.
need
Radio is
look,
my first love. I must admit,
look,
radio
we
is my
we
friend.
we need you, baby.
Okay.
We need you
I'm
back in the driver's seat, okay?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Now look, I
So,
want to shift gears a little bit, if you don't
yes, please.
mind.
Hmm.
One of the inspirations for wanting me to, bring you on the show was to give a battle cry.
Mm.
You are in a battle
Yeah, yeah.
in New York, with the city and the powers to be, that they
Yeah.
just woke up one day and decided they're going to pick on you and your home. And I
Yeah.
want you to give, take your time and express to the people what these low down dirty folks is doing to you over there. Because we have people all over the country that are listening, and somebody might have an idea or something, because your phone number is right underneath your name, Miss
Okay.
Sherri Culpepper. And that's her real number, y'all. That ain't gonna send you nowhere crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So you can reach out to her directly. She ain't hiding from nobody, she
Nope.
put it out there. And we're gonna see, can we rally some support around your cause, because you have given so much of yourself
Mm.
that it's only right that the people, support you now in your circumstance and situation.
Thank-
So please share, feel free to share what you
Okay.
want to share about this situation.
So the short of it is, my great grandfather and great grandparents were put off the island of Antigua because my great grandfather wanted to organize the farmers. He was a Garveyite, and he was given two options: either stop organizing and we'll give you a job in England, or leave and go to America. So, coming to America, here we are. We moved into a brownstone. We rented a brownstone from the owner. There were 11 family members, my great grandparents, and 9 children. We lived in the entire building. I say we as if I was there. This was 1925. So, fast forward, year 2009, the property is down to 3 owners because my grandmother had the insight to not write the deed to the survivor, or actually, it was written to the survivors. So, in other words, as you die off, then your inheritance, or your interest in the property is gone. And she was very specific. She told a cousin who was actually an urban commissioner of urban planning, Ivan Michaels. She told him specifically that this is how she wanted it written. And he shared the story with me, and he said, because at some point later in 2000, my great uncle was going to buy out my grandmother and my great aunt. And he said, I can't participate in that. And then he shared the story. So this property is more than brick and mortar. It is the same little sink where my grandmother washed my hands inside of her hands in
Hmm.
and forgive me. I mean, literally downstairs from where I'm sitting right now. And where I live now was my great grandfather's church. Um, I guess after Marcus Garvey was put in exile and had to leave America, he had to decide on another career, and he became a minister, much to the chagrin of some of his children. And because I think they liked him being an activist of sorts.
Hmm.
So the property during the 1930s, I guess the city of New York decided, well, we don't have any jobs up there. How would these folks surviving? So as it turns out, they realized that people were renting rooms.
Mm.
Okay, so they sent some inspector from downtown to go uptown and go in each one of these buildings and count the rooms And from that day forward, a bedroom turned into a B room. And then they counted the B rooms and said, okay, from now on, this is a six B room, single room occupancy, SRO. Now, back then in the 1930s and 40s, it was supposed to be for people just transitioning, coming up, from the South or coming from some other country and just needed a place to lay their head for a little while till they got their feet on the ground and got themselves together. It was not designed to live generation after generation. But
Mm-hmm.
what it morphed into was housing preservation and development saying decades later, 2021 now, your building is an SRO, and the people that took advantage of your 390-year-old great uncle and great aunt and grandmother and now live in a kitchen and a walk-in closet and a storage room, they get to live there because your rent stabilized.
Mm.
And I have retained, I'm up to my 30th attorney. I got further pro se, meaning without an attorney, before this pandemic than I had with all 29 attorneys before this.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, I put my own case together, I presented it, and I was taking each individual that's been living free for some of them 11 years. They pay nothing. The city of New York decides I'm a slumlord, and
Mm.
they put me in this alternate enforcement program. Now, mind you, before this happened, I started going to politicians and my elected officials and said, "Hey, these people living in my building, what's going on?" Well, your building's an SRO. What does that mean? So I had to start, doing some research and figuring this out. And my grandmother always said, if something doesn't feel right, just follow the profit. Who's making money off of this?
Mm-hmm.
What developers stand to profit from me having to give up my property? Why would
Mm-hmm.
you put me in an alternate enforcement program and nobody in the building pays rent? You know that these are people nobody's on their last leg if they can live in New York City for 10 years and not pay rent.
Well, come on now.
Okay? So that's why, I'm hearing all this stuff about the moratorium. How dare you put a moratorium on someone who hasn't paid rent in 11 years? How
Right.
dare you say to me, I have to continue paying for your electric, your water, keep it warm? It's got to, it's just, it's ludicrous. This has been, you know,
So it's
you all
turned
asked
is
me last week
yeah.
what motivates me, what keeps me in this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the one thing I believe is that God does not give you more than you could bear.
Right.
And they picked the right one because maybe you said children and fools, and sometimes I vacillate between the two. I'm not perfect, but what I do know is that when something in my spirit said that this is absolutely wrong, I
Right.
can't I can't just back up and say, okay, let me just sell it. No, this shit is wrong.
Right. So
We
you're
all
in a
benefiting
battle.
from it.
So you're in a battle with a designation that was declared on your family building that has been in your family for generations and after generations. And the city decided that they're going to target you to try and get away from your family legacy. and
That's
and
it.
I just wanted to be clear that people understand what's going on here, and you explained to us on Street News Now, and I keep referencing that show because that's the show I'm on
Mhm.
Thursday. But
Yes.
but you explained to us that your building did not even fit the criteria to be on that list,
Yes.
but yet
On top.
mysteriously,
Right.
all of a sudden all of a sudden,
All of a
your
sudden.
property wound up on this list with this
Hmm.
designation so that they can now began the process of systematically attacking you from all sides with some type of warfare against you. And it's just you. You know, you ain't got a team of lawyers,
Nope.
you know, but guess what?
But I got a big lawyer.
Yes, you do. And you got brothers, kings that now know the story. So we are, you know, we gonna sound the alarm from coast to coast and let people know, like, look, we need to be trying to find out, you know, what we can do and rally around you to help you and support you during this time. Because, you know, and you and I have talked off air, you
Yes.
know, and I'm giving you what, you know, I knew to tell you, and, you know, some ideas and plans, you know, because, you know, they got crooks on their side. So it's only fair that you got crooks on your side too, you
You
know.
know what I'm saying? You know what I
you
mean?
know, hey, they ain't all just government crooks, you know, because we all done survived and we all hands ain't clean, okay? So,
Okay.
but you know, the bottom line is this is an unfair housing practice, and I have said this openly to you,
Mm-hmm.
and this is something that every city has been operating in,
Absolutely.
you know, doing
Absolutely.
unfair housing
Yeah. It's
practices to take things away from, you know, people of color, people of brown skin, you know, all people that they feel like, oh well, they don't know what to do, we can just take this, you know. So
and they try to outlawyer you. They
right,
try to, you know, intimidate you. Most people's brains, and not for nothing, my brain shut down. You get a bill for $25,000, and the previous year you didn't make $25,000. You get panicked there for a minute, but then
right.
you know, find your center and you're like, wait a minute. So what I had to do is, okay, God, you put me in this spot. What am I supposed to do now? Do I go to law school and be my own lawyer? Then I was like, well, that's I'm gonna be in more debt. So I was like, I gotta find a career where I can initially afford to pay for a good lawyer. That's an oxymoron.
He said,
I'm
good
sure
lord,
I'm
no
I'm
such
sure
thing.
I'm sure they do. I have some very dear friends that are lawyers, so you know, don't take it if I step on a
Right,
toe.
right, right, right.
But so that's how I became an operating engineer. At 50 years old, I didn't know what a backhoe and a forklift was. I didn't know any of these machines, but what I did know is that they make good money.
Right.
And at that point, I put all my magazines, all my radio magazines, all my fashion magazines. I got rid of my French manicures, all my clothes that I used to wear in the back of a closet, and I put on some man clothes, and I wrapped my hair up, and I took the nail polish off in the you know, they don't let women wear or men
Yeah,
wear jewelry
earrings,
because you
yeah.
might pull it, you know, on a machine or climbing on something. And I did what I had to do, and I did a 4-year apprenticeship. Wore me down, but I never stopped. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been in the union. I have a book. Uh, don't get on a bunch of machines, but you know, you can't keep. I have to. I tell you, I had to pick my battle. So
Right.
the reason I became an operating engineer is to save my property. My great grandma or my grandmother bought 5 pieces of property by the time she was 30 years old, making 10 cents an hour as a seamstress.
Mm.
And one by one, some you know family members did some things that I wasn't happy with, but the city came in one time and gave her some violation for unsafe building, and then they fixed the unsafe building status. Then they demolished the building. The
Mm.
same agency,
Wow.
Housing Preservation and Development. And what I do know is absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is an agency that only reports to the mayor. So we have a new mayor. We'll see what he does. But something is terribly wrong with this. And you know, be clear. My family moved into the building in 1925, occupied the entire building, but could not buy it because the owner wouldn't sell it until 1974.
Wow.
Okay. So for 42 years, they rented the entire building.
Wow.
And from 1974 until my cousins put people into walk-in closets trying to be slick, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody, they operate where they are. I don't begrudge anybody. I'm not a victim. I am, and I feel sorry for people who make bad decisions and then want someone else to be responsible for them because you make a bad decision. You know, I pray for all of them, but it's time for you to get out of my house.
Right. It's
You
time
know,
to go.
time for you to
Yeah.
stand. Oh yeah, it's over. You
Yeah.
know, the jig is up.
Yeah. And let me throw this out there. Some people may not realize that property in New York is a premium. Because they don't build new stuff all the time. They got no place to put it. It's people on top of people, blocks are blocks, communities. They're expanding away from the center of the city, outward. But now they have to start coming back, and it's always in every city. Chicago's the same way. They have pushed all of the people out of the inner city. All of the black people have pushed them out of the inner city, out into the suburbs. Other states, they send them to Wisconsin, Minnesota, Indiana. They send them to other places so that they can gradually walk back into the city. Like it's a
Mhm.
big thing here in Chicago where they are taking old plants and turning them into loft apartments,
Oh yeah.
luxury loft apartments, I might
Mhm.
add. So they're taking them and then they're bringing in people with 100, 200,000 plus salaries back into the inner city so that they can be close to the downtown corporate headquarters of what's going on. And New York is no different. I
Not
used to tease people that wanted to move to New York. And I say, well, how you gonna find a broom closet to live in? Because New York broom closets are as expensive as a full 3-bedroom house over here in Illinois.
yeah.
Because it ain't no joke. You got to be making some serious bank in order
Or
to want to
you
live.
live free if you
If they
want
and
to
look,
come
if
to
they
my
know
house.
you, they can get one of your
Right,
rooms for free. You
right.
know, but
I need to do a remake with Diana Ross. It's my house and I live here, and just show everybody just coming in the house living
yeah.
free. Come
Well,
on in.
I think, and I'm gonna say this publicly, I think
Yeah.
everybody need to get a 5-day notice and get the hell out. Look, I would just like, hey, if you can't afford to pay this amount of money, here's your 5-day notice, get out,
Yeah.
you know, and
But see,
and
you got to
and
understand that there's some developers just waiting in the cut for
I
me to
get
walk
that.
away. You
I
know,
get that.
so it's not that easy.
I
But
get
trust me,
that.
I like I said, I did better by myself pro se than I did with 29 attorneys
Yeah,
that couldn't get an index.
And Jed is commenting on that. Jed said the fact that you made the most progress pro se says something. I was
Yeah.
going to say a big word. Lawyers are like finding pearls among swine. Cali has its own strange laws. They are messing with people who homesteader in the
Mm,
70s, saying they are out of code. There are no codes then. There were no codes then. So Jed is in California and he's saying they're doing it
right.
out there. You know,
Right.
so it's a battle that you're in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, against unfair housing practices.
Yes.
And that's something that I think the Fed has something to say about that. You just got to
Mm-hmm.
make them aware of it. And you're going to have to, bring in as many agencies to start looking over the city's books on why they chose your place and the place next door or whatever.
Well, they've been doing this for a while. I think I was like the last of the Mohegans,
Mm-hmm.
and no disrespect to Native Americans with that, but I believe that this is how most of the area got gentrified. People took over. Old people were elderly people were taken advantage of either by family members or by strangers that just moved in. And I just, again, between a child and a fool, I didn't mind moving into a building with some drug addicted folks and criminals, either because I'm crazy or because I'm a first degree black belt or because I know that I'm covered and everything's going to work out.
There you
But
go.
that's what I ultimately had to do because they were taking, HPD was coming in and putting $500 doorknobs on while I was at work,
Mm.
you know, and everybody can call 311 as if it's HPD is their personal, janitor,
Valet and janitorial service, right?
all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
So I
you gonna have to
realized
get
that
some brothers. You have to go down in the hood and get some brothers and have them come through there and clean house. That's how you got to do it. You know,
we
like they
can't say
used to
that on
do.
the radio.
I just did. I just did. Look, see, first of all, you know, you part of a family that you are never not going to be a part of. Like you said, you're in the martial arts. Okay, so them brothers ain't gonna let nobody mess over you. If they find out what's going on and you ain't said nothing, they're gonna be mad at you. So you need to call your brothers from the dojo and tell them, look, I'm gonna need y'all to come over and visit. You know,
I
just
would say
invite
just
them
come
over
over and
for a visit.
practice every day, 4 or 5 hours. That would be
Yeah,
enough.
that would be good too. Just come on over and take a visit, and then one by one, people start coming up missing. You know, I don't want to live here no more. I mean, there's always a way. And I see you
You
picked your
know,
book up, so go ahead.
yeah, this is another book. This is Home Wreckers by a man named Aaron Glatz.
Uh
And it's
huh.
how a gang of Wall Street kingpin, hedge fund magnates, crooked banks, vulture capitalists suckered millions out of their home and demolished the American dream. I
Yep.
mean, there's a ton of books. There's one called Race for Profit, a sister wrote, where she talks about how HUD used to give property to, 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 to Black people trying to start up, home ownership, except the properties were in such disrepair
Right.
that there was no way that they could have fixed it up for the amount of money that they allotted for it.
That's
So
true.
again, I've learned how to. Well, my grandmother taught me how to do my own roof. She taught me how to lift the tar up on the roof, and she did a little bit of everything. So I wasn't afraid to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I know when I have to get a licensed electrician or a licensed plumber, but I will put some compound on some sheetrock and slap some paint up and make things look really nice. But so this is my life. I'm
Yeah.
not going to back down. And I've got tax liens that they're waiting for me to falter on a
I know
tax
that's
lien. I
right.
paid 5 tax liens off. I paid over $350,000 in emergency repairs, and
And you
they have
still
it set
fighting.
up. Yeah, I'm still fighting. And
Yeah.
you pay for the repairs, you pay for everything, and they keep the violations on. So on paper, I look like a slumlord. But I'm like, how can I
Yeah.
be a slumlord when nobody's paid rent in 11 years? You explain
Yeah.
that to me.
We got to clean house
These are
first.
educated people saying this to me. They go to
Yeah.
Harvard and stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
So,
clean house first and then that start all over again. Well, look, we got a couple of minutes left here.
okay.
Miss Sherri, what is it that you want to say to the people? What is it what help do you need? What do you want people to try to do to help you, call you, reach out to you? And I ain't talking about call up and hit on it now, y'all. You know, I'm talking
Yeah.
about call up and offer up real solutions to a real problem. You know, so tell the people what you want to say to them.
Um, what do I want to say? That we, the people, we have a voice individually and collectively, and we, the people, need to come together. Not only for what I'm doing here, but collectively, we need to understand our power, and we need to bring a voice back. We need to take control of the airwaves.
Mm-hmm.
I love radio because I loved hearing, you know, certain kind of music. I loved hearing conversation. I like being talked to and not talked at.
Mm-hmm.
And I like I like to hear what's going on in the world from a different perspective, which I don't hear anymore. So let's buy a radio station, buy a network. Let's converse. Let's take care of our babies, Ebenezer, in foster care. You know, let's go old school where it took a village. Let's make this village everybody in the United States, around the globe. Let's do this. You
Yes.
know, we've gotten kind of complacent in this journey here. We only 400 years, give or take a few, out of slavery. You understand that?
Right.
That's a drop of a, a drop of a sand. you know, it's no time. This planet's been around for millions of years. We're
Right.
only in year 2021. It's like, come on, let's. So it's not about helping me. It's about helping us to make a
Yes.
difference. We all need
Yes.
to look into home ownership. Stop renting. You know, stop spending more money on your hair and your nails and your shoes and your car, and you driving up to a rental.
There you go.
We have to give something to pass on to our great grandchildren,
Yep.
as my great grandparents did, which is why I am fighting so hard,
Yes. Well, you're
which
not
is why
in
I
this
can't
by
be lost.
yourself, baby. We with you. We're
Oh,
gonna hang in there. Now look,
thank you.
I need to ask you a favor. Will you come back and
But
visit with me again? Will you keep us
absolutely,
updated? Keep us
absolutely.
updated, please,
Yeah.
because I don't want this to slide on the back burner and we don't hear anything else about it.
Okay.
We want to celebrate your victories. We
Okay.
want to get mad when you get mad.
Okay.
We want all of it. And you are welcome to come back here anytime. I know you're in
Thank
between jobs right now. You came home on lunch break to do
you.
this,
I
and I
did. I did.
appreciate
I'm
you.
getting ready to run back out now. Go put on
Yeah.
my 5 layers of clothes.
and I
Put my mask
appreciate
on and
you
stuff.
for
Yeah.
taking time out of your busy workday to come hang out with us. I love you.
I'm sure I'm sure there's a troll or two listening here tonight. And because I had some try to make a comment on my Facebook page the other day, but see, they picked the right one because they think just because you can conjugate your verbs that you won't cuss them fucker out. But
Hmm.
I tell you, sometimes you just gotta go there. You gotta get ugly.
I know that's
but
right.
but I know how to conjugate my verbs and I know how to cuss. So
There you go. Well, Miss Sherri, I love you and I thank you and I
I thank
appreciate you.
you so much. I
So
appreciate
we're gonna
it.
get out of here, you guys. Once again, she got to head out the door. So
Yeah.
we're gonna flip this over here so we can put some other information so she can slide out undetected. you know, yes, yes. So this is a place where you can make donations. All my information is right here. Please support what we're doing here. Thank you for all those that have made contributions. Please go over to the website, ask-dr-ron.com, and do what you all can do to share with us. And I promise you, your money will go to good use. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the notification button. We need your support. Miss Sherri Culpepper, a legend in the business. We thank her and we support her and what all she's doing. We love you guys for hanging out with us on today, and we'll see you guys on next week.